Thank you, Madam Vice President. And for President Duda, I wanted to know if you think, and if you asked the United States to specifically accept more refugees.
Okay. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Okay, I can first. Okay, so this time. Szanowna pani redaktor.
Madam, as Madam Vice President remarked today, a friend in need is a friend indeed. That is why I'm really happy that today.
And can you see any political future for Putin? I to jest oczywiście też pytanie do pana prezydenta o tę polską stronę i przyszłość.
This is also the question to the Polish president.
Okay, I'll go. You go this time, please.
Jeżeli pani...
Not at all. We are very clear.
Really protected most Americans from severe financial crisis consequences of the pandemic so that they're by and large in good financial shape.
This inflation news is going to be tough for the administration. Nothing, Joe, nothing has been more politicized than inflation. Just let's hearken back to all the things we've been through. First, it was transitory. Then, inflation is good. Then we went to corporate greed. Now we're at Putin.
Year over year, 7.9% is the inflation number. That is a 40-year high. Month over month, up 0.8%. That shows that even month to month, inflation is accelerating. It is gas, it is shelter, it is food, groceries, all these things you basically can't live without are rising here. So when you dig into these numbers, you can see just why so many Americans are so sour on the economy on those opinion polls. It's because they're paying more for just about everything. Used cars, look at that, Brianna, up 41%. From last year, gasoline up 38%. And again, these numbers don't capture the big disruption in the economy from Putin's war.
The Biden administration has said that regarding domestic oil production, that there are 9,000 leases that have yet to be used, that production is near record levels. Does industry have some responsibility at some point to increase production on their own? Or what would you like the Biden administration to do in that regard?
Let me tell you, you guys are smarter than this, okay? I know you are. I really know you are. I can't believe you let them get away with that kind of baloney that they're peddling. I'm going to use just one narrow part of it that the American people will understand. Prior to the Ukrainian war, in the last 2 weeks in February, there were zero Russian oil came in. The private sector shut it off themselves, said we're not going to do it. Prior to that, we were bringing in 600,000 barrels a day from Russia into the United States of America, prior to them cutting it off in February. I went up, as did my friends here, and watched Biden get sworn in on the front steps. An hour later, he walked into the president's room. He took his papers and started signing executive orders. And one of them he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. 700,000 barrels a day. Would you rather have 600,000 come in from Russia that you're paying Russian for, getting them rich? Or would you rather have 700,000 barrels a day coming in from Canada and having our workers be employed by that? This is outrageous, absolutely outrageous for them to try to point the finger and say, oh, this is somebody else's fault. It's the Biden administration's fault. You guys are smarter than this. I know you are.
And when it comes to the gas tax, look, the reality is we are going to have to graduate from the gas tax because we're going to have to graduate from gas. We know that it is not a viable long-term funding mechanism for our highways.
Why even Iran should be able to go to a final deal, and Congress is in the Republicans, and so what happens to the deal?
First-year law student will tell you that the Constitution is crystal clear. The Founding Fathers were really smart. They said an agreement with a foreign country is so important that 2/3 of the Senate has got to ratify it. That's what needs to be done here. That's how it should be submitted. What kind of shenanigans they'll use to get there, I can't tell you come November, but we'll see what November brings.
And finally, the left's energy policy, contrary to what they say, is not cleaner. They're buying gas from Russia and other countries that produce it much less cleaner than what we produce. We've all heard about the Biden administration canceling the Keystone XL pipeline. Union welders in my district lost their job when that pipeline was closed. When I talked to them, they said, did you realize this pipeline was going to use total renewable energy to pump the oil from Canada to the Gulf of the United States? It was actually green jobs being used to transport the oil. We produce energy cleaner and more efficiently, and we're better stewards of the environment here than any place else in the world. We don't need to be buying Russian energy, but we sure don't need to be buying Iranian energy or Venezuelan energy. We need to produce energy of all forms and all types here in the U.S. and do it better than anybody else in the world. Do it where we have reliable energy, where we have affordable energy, and where we have the cleanest energy. And we're sleeping in the bed that we made. That's what happens when you allow energy policy to be dictated by children in Europe, by woke investors on Wall Street, and by politicians who actually think that electric passenger vehicles are going to solve an energy crisis and a climate crisis. The policy we have is unsustainable, and we're seeing the results of it. When you look at energy policy, it should do at least three things. Number one is be reliable. This energy policy of the left is not reliable from a technical standpoint. It's also not reliable from a sourcing standpoint, as we're seeing now, where we're dependent on Russian oil and gas. Energy should be affordable. And we see right now with all-time high gas prices and oil prices that energy is definitely not affordable. Energy affects everything. We're getting ready to start planting crops across the world. Natural gas is the key ingredient to nitrogen fertilizer, which allows us to produce the food to feed the world. As energy cost goes up, the cost of everything is going to go up. Food costs are going to continue to rise. Transportation costs are going to continue to rise. It's more than just the cost at the pump.